Everyone has a reason to plan a sober ride. One reason is that each year in Montana, over 5,000 people lose their driving privileges for driving impaired. A DUI could cost you your license, thousands of dollars, and jail time. Imagine what else you could do with your time and money. What's your reason for planning a sober ride? Drive sober or get pulled over. A message from the Montana Department of Transportation.
This is Ice-T and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and
This is a cold call.
We're on a mission to get America to switch to cold water washing with Tide.
it saves you energy.
And that saves you up to $150 a year on your energy bill.
Plus, Tide cleans better in cold than the bargain brand in hot. So what are you waiting for?
Turn to cold because Stone Cold said so.
Turn to cold with Tide.
Energy savings based on average when switching from hot to cold and non-HE machines. Performance based on Tide Power Pods versus leading baking soda packs.
Right now, and exclusively at Tire-Rama, save up to $70 instantly on a qualifying set of Cooper tires, including Rugged Trek, the complete AT3 lineup, and the always popular CS5. Plus, qualify for a $50 mail-in rebate with a purchase of $3.99 or more when you use your Tire-Rama credit card. You won't find this deal on Cooper tires anywhere else. This offer ends September 13th, so visit your neighborhood Tire-Rama or TireRama.com for more details.
What your mama always said, look up into the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day, on a cloudy day. Your mama always said, look up into the sky, find the sun on a cloudy day.
Hey, this is Stones and I. Check out my new song Cloudy Day, out now on Spotify. Tap your screen now to listen.
Find the sun on a cloudy day. What your mama always said, look up into the sky.
Hey, 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 welcome to the stream, guys. How is everybody today? Oh, crap, where'd it go? Not that one. Not that one, that one. Move it. Okay, gotta move it. There we go. Lock all these back in place. Okay. I am having a rough day, but I will get through it because I have Reese's pumpkins, bats, and ghost-shaped Reese's. So all is right with the world again. I also have Kit Kats, and I also have some Nutter Butters.
Courtesy of who?
Courtesy of Revenant Variable for going to the store. He couldn't find any licorice, so he came back with the next best thing, which is chocolate. Man to my own heart. You like that, Gamer Mama? Yeah, I had my overview. You can have some, Kerrigan. You just gotta come down to the basement and get some. There's cheese and cheese crackers on the counter in the kitchen. Or a bagel or whatever. You just gotta speak up. Okay, so in lieu of recent events, which I will not get into, I've decided to have a TED Talk before my stream today. Starting to get a little bit of traction. Snacks, yes, I have Kit Kats, I have Nutter Butters, I have Halloween shaped Reese's. There was no licorice, so I have no licorice. Sad face. He almost bought me the pull apart rope ones, and I was like, no, sacrilege. That's not licorice. It doesn't even taste like licorice. But he was smart and he called and asked what I wanted, so all is right with the world. I have my coffee, my cold iced mocha coffee. So I want to touch on a sort of sensitive, I know, right? a sort of sensitive, personal, sometimes awkward subject that most people don't want to talk about, and that is depression and anxiety. And I live with both. I have had a lot of shit happen in my life that it's okay. That have led me to have various coping mechanisms, some healthy, some not healthy, and certain lifestyles and things that have been thrown at me that make me into the person I am today. I'm going to attempt to do this without tearing up, but I am having a rough day, so please just bear with me a little. So I just started streaming on Twitch. What was it? I think I made affiliate in June or July. I think it was the beginning of July. And both Kerrigan and Revenant had been streaming long before me and made affiliate long before me. And I joked, you know, I joke with Kerrigan all the time, who, if you guys don't know, is my son. He's 15 and he's addicted to video games, which there's nothing wrong with that right now. But I joked and I said, you know, you can't really make a career out of playing video games. You can't make money off playing video games. I say this to my husband all the time because that's all they want to do in their spare time is play video games. And as a mom who feels like she has to do everything else, you know, I'm cleaning the house and I'm meal planning and I'm shopping and I'm helping pay the bills and I'm doing all the cooking and most of the cleaning and all that stuff. You know, people ask me, well, what do you do in your spare time? And I kind of joke and I look at them and I'm like, spare time? What is the spare time you speak of? Oh, sleep. Stuff my face and sleep. Yes, Revenant did, and it was delicious. And so I am one of those people that is known as a people pleaser. I am one of those people that is a goody two-shoes and maybe even a little bit of a prude as far as public eye. Like, I care about what people think of me. I care about what people say about me. I shouldn't, because it affects me when I feel like somebody, he made an enchilada. It was like rice and hamburger and jalapenos and stuff is all together, but it was like an enchilada something or other. It was really good. Oh, there you go. Cheesy enchilada hamburger helper, and they added corn and jalapenos too. Yes, it was delicious. A little bit spicy, but really good. So I was like the gung-ho mom. I went to Ethan's entire year of kindergarten. He did half-day kindergarten, which is, he only went for like 3 hours a day. And I volunteered in his class. I guess you would call me the helicopter bubble mom. I went with him everywhere. He was such a mama's boy. I couldn't let go. And I wanted to help people. I always wanted to volunteer. I wanted to feel like I was making a difference. And when I didn't feel like I was making a difference, or when I felt like what I was doing didn't really matter, you know, the depression sort of would sink in. And then there comes anxiety, my other best friend, that when I do volunteer for things, and when I do want to organize things, and I do want to do all these things, I'm suddenly having so much anxiety because I put it on myself. I want everything to be perfect. And I'm planning A through Z. Well, what if this happens and what if that happens? And I don't want to let anybody down. And so I get really hard on myself And I do it to myself when nobody's putting me down and everybody's praising me and everybody tells me what a good job I'm doing, how beautiful I am, how great of a person I am. But the voice inside my head that tells me I'm not good enough is the one I can never get to shut up. So when growing up, I was the fat kid. I will always be the fat kid inside. You don't ever lose that mentality. I'm 5'2", and I was 245 pounds. I didn't make friends easily because of the way I looked. I didn't have boyfriends. I had 2 boyfriends in high school, and then I met Rev while I was in high school, and I married him. And him and I have been together for 15 years, married 15 years together, like 17. And he's been my rock. And he's been supportive, and he's the one that chases the doubts out of my head and tells me, he's the backbone. He tells me, fuck everybody else. Fuck what everybody thinks. What do you think? How do you feel? Because that's all that really matters. And so he kind of keeps me grounded and brings me back to reality. And when I started Twitch streaming, I was mostly doing it out of boredom and for lack of anything better to do. I've been a full-time mom. I've had a few really great jobs that I absolutely loved and learned so much from and gained so much experience. And no matter how it ended, I'm grateful for that experience. But, so I had gastric bypass surgery in 2014. I lost a baby in 2010. He was full term. He had many different heart defects. I found out I was pregnant at like 23 weeks, 24 weeks. And thank you for that. I found out I was pregnant at like 23, 24 weeks. It was one of those things, like I didn't miss a period. I didn't have any signs, anything like that. And then it was just like an intuition. I knew something wasn't right, and I went to the doctor. And by then I was like 26 weeks. And I went into the doctor at like 8 in the morning, and I didn't get out until 5 that evening. Because they went in and they did 3 different ultrasounds on 3 different machines and all these tests, and they came back and told me, so in the span of a day I found out I was having a boy, but that his survival chance was, I think it was like 30% at that time, and that I was going to be considered high risk. So the right half of his heart didn't form properly. So the upper and lower chambers were not fully formed, and then the tricuspid valve didn't open and close properly. And then the vessels that go through the heart, the aorta and it escapes me at the moment, they were backwards. So the blood that should have been going to his lungs were going to his body, and the blood that should have been going to his body was going to his lungs. So he didn't have the right blood pumping to the right places. And so this made his viability really, really low. And to make a long story really short, I ended up seeing a heart specialist who, ironically enough, we saw the day before I actually had to go have him by emergency C-section. And the doctor said, he was the only doctor to say it. He said, I've performed these surgeries hundreds of times, and I've seen babies with worse heart conditions survive and thrive. And Rev and I had talked before this that we wouldn't have a baby shower, and we wouldn't tell anybody, and we wouldn't make any announcements, we wouldn't build a nursery or do any of those things until he was born and we knew whether he was going to have a chance. Because I told him, I can't do all those things and then come home from the hospital with no baby. I just couldn't do it. So we agreed, and I went to my regular appointment at 33 weeks, 3 days, and they put me on the monitor, and his heart rate started to decelerate with what looked like Braxton Hicks contractions. And in a span of about 20 minutes, his heart decelerated 6 times. And so the doctor said, okay, that's it. You got to go to the hospital. We need to induce you. He's not tolerating this anymore, and he's going to have a better chance outside than this, because, you know, there's a good chance that he is going to keep going and he could die inside of you. And so off we went. We rushed to, hey, Punk, welcome. We're having a little TED Talk. So bear with me here. It's kind of a little bit of an emotional stream before I jump into games today. So I went to the hospital. I was rushed into an emergency C-section. ICU team was there, NICU team was there. Heart doctor was in the hospital but not with me. And I went in and it happened so fast, and they got him out so quick. And in all the papers that they had shoved in my hands, part of that was to fix me, to put clamps on my ovaries, on my fallopian tubes, so that I couldn't have any more kids. And they had done all of that and put me back together while they were working on him. They pulled him out. He coded twice while I was in the room. They called code blue twice while I was still there, but I couldn't see him because of all the nurses that were around him. And as they wheeled me out of the OR, one of the nurses stepped aside, and all I could see was a purple baby on the table. And I'm not a highly religious person, but that was the moment I started to pray. And all I asked was, please don't let him suffer. If he's not meant to be here with me, take him home. And that's all I kept thinking about over and over again, is please don't let my baby suffer. And he fought like a champ for 51 minutes. And then they couldn't get his heartbeat stable, and he passed away. And that was kind of the start of my major depression. I had random strangers bringing me food, meals, offering to help. Now, he was my 3rd C-section, so by then I was pretty much a pro at strapping myself in a girdle and getting up and continuing with what I needed to do. A week after, I was having my wisdom teeth removed, getting braces put on, and I was getting up and taking care of a toddler, 2 toddlers. Autumn was like 15 months old at the time. I think Kerrigan was like 4. And every morning she would wake up, mama, mama, mama. And I had to get up I had to get up and take care of my other kids. And they were what got me through. Because had I not had them, I don't think I would have got out of bed. And so, after that was a very long, tiring journey. Battling the doctors, fighting with the doctors, to undo what had been done. About 2 years went by, and I said, everything happens for a reason. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Maybe I couldn't have been a NICU mom. Maybe, I don't know, all the things went through my head. Was it my fault? Was something wrong with me? How could I not know I was pregnant if I'd have gone to the doctor sooner? I was taking antidepressants. Those caused birth defects. All of these things ran through my mind. And I finally had to tell myself, stop. Stop blaming myself, that everything happens for a reason, and I have 2 beautiful, healthy kids, which is more than some people can say. Some people can't have kids at all. And I should be grateful for what I have and stop focusing so much on what I don't. And about 2 years, it took me about 2 years to pull myself out of that. And I got the records from the hospital, and I found out that they overdosed him on epinephrine and a few other things in the medical file. And so they asked me, yes, Punk, you can give me an air hug. I love air hugs. Thank you so much. I'm trying to do this without being emotional and without blubbering like a baby, but as you can see, it's not working. And so this was in Las Vegas, Nevada at the time. And after I got those papers, I was angry and I wanted to do something. Okay, see, Punk, I got a hug. Thank you. I got angry and I wanted to do something. I wanted to make sure that no other mom had to deal with what I just went through. That it wasn't my fault. Part of that was hospital neglect, and my best friend was an ex-ER nurse, and she actually took the papers from me and said, I'm going to read these, and I'm going to tell you what you need to know. And then I'm going to give these papers back to you. But you have to promise me that you're never going to open this envelope, and you're never going to read what's inside here. Because I'm going to tell you what you need to know. And none of this other shit matters. And so I made a promise to her, and I said, okay. And so she went through it, and she cried, and she called me and asked me some questions and told me what I needed to know, and said, that there was enough in there. If I wanted to sue the hospital, I had the right to do that. I had enough that I could. And I contacted a lawyer, and the lawyer said, you definitely do have grounds, and considering the other shit that the hospital is going through and under lawsuit for right now, you'd only be adding to the already growing pile of lawsuits for infant deaths at that hospital. But I want you to know that this can drag out for up to 2 years. That you can go to court any amount of time in that 2 years, and you're gonna have to recount your story over and over and over again to a bunch of random people, and they're gonna pick you apart and they're gonna tear you apart. Is that something you're prepared for? Are you prepared to keep this going and drag this out for 2 years to get justice? and I talked with Rev, and I didn't want to. As harsh as this is gonna sound, it happened. It killed me. A part of me died that day with him. But I wanted to get over it. I wanted to move past it. And I felt like joining in on a lawsuit was only going to drag out my healing. It was only going to drag out my suffering. And that I didn't know if I could endure that. And so we opted not to. But I did submit our story to a bunch of different lawyers. And there was a bill going around at the time that they were trying to pass. I actually had somebody contact me that I had written a blog on Blogger. For that whole first year, that's what I did. I blogged every day. If I couldn't sleep, if I thought the pain was going to swallow me whole, and I didn't have any friends, I didn't have anybody I could talk to, but I needed to get it out. And so I blogged, and I wrote it down, and I let my fingers do the talking, and I just poured it out, unedited, unfiltered, and somebody read it, and she happened to be in connection with somebody in the state that they're trying to pass a bill to require the oxygen saturation things that they put on the baby's toes when they're born. And that is 99% of the time how you find a heart defect. If they did not find it in utero, that's how they find it at birth. They wrap that little sensor around the baby's foot or around their toe, and it reads the oxygen saturation level in the baby's blood. And anything below, I think it's 90, it gives them like a red flag that they need to check the baby's heart. And, you know, like I said, 99% of the time, that's how they discover heart defects and are able to catch them early and do the preventative things and save lives. And they wanted to use, his name is Tobias. So if you hear me refer to him, that's what his name is. They wanted to use Tobias's birth story towards helping get that bill passed. And I said, absolutely. If his story can help save another baby. And so they submitted his birth story along with that bill, and that bill was passed. And so something good did come out of it. So a few years after that, you know, at the time I said we did all the genetic testing, we did all the things, and there was no genetic link. There was no explanation as to why he had heart defects. Why what happened to him. And at the time I said, you know, I'm glad I can't have any more kids. Maybe it was meant to be, because they can't tell me why it happened or what the cause of it was. And what if the next one, it happens to the next one? I can't do this all over again. And so I was like, okay, I need to be grateful that I can't have any more kids. And a couple of years went by, and I'm still depressed, and my kids are growing up, and that baby fever sets in, and you get the itch, and you start holding other people's babies, and you smelling them, and you're like, oh, I really want another baby, you know, and you get all sappy, and some people last for like 5 minutes, and they're like, yeah, it starts crying, and they're like handing it back to his mom, going, okay, I'm over it, it's good, I'm over it. Well, that kept happening to me. It just kept happening to me. And it was just like, I was known as the magic baby lady to all of my friends. Because I was so good with babies that it was like magic. You put a baby in my arms, it didn't matter what was wrong with it, or how long it had been crying, or whatever. I could soothe it, I could calm it, I could, I would have friends calling me up in the middle of the night going, he won't stop screaming. Please, can you come over and help? I would come over in 10 minutes, the baby would be fast asleep. And they just look at me like, how do you do that? And I was like, I'm just good with babies. I don't know. And I didn't. I've just grown up taking care of cousins, and it was just a natural thing for me. I was just a natural at it. And so when it suddenly hit me that I'd never get to do that again, it just hit me really hard. And so then Alan, Rev, and I started talking about it, and so that's when I started going to the doctor and started saying, what do I need to do to get this undone so that we can have another baby? And I thought it would be something so simple as, okay, we just have to go in and do the reversal surgery. And, they would tell me your odds of getting pregnant again are but it is possible. You're going to have scar tissue and blah, 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 blah. I feel like all the babies have an emotional link to adults, because when I'm sad and I hold the baby, they're always happy to cheer me up a bit. Well, Punk, see, the way I always thought of it was, when you're the parent and you're with that baby 24/7, that baby tunes into your emotions. And so, if you're sleep deprived, if you're stressed, if you're whatever, and you have to pick up that baby and soothe that baby, and you're not in the right headspace to do so, the baby's going to pick up on that, and it's going to become stressed and emotional too. I can't tell you how many times the mom has been sleep deprived and at her wit's end, and the baby's colicky, or she can't get him to go to sleep or whatever, and you hand him off to somebody else who isn't riddled with sleep deprivation or stress or anxiety, and all they can think is, oh, cute cuddly baby, oh, I love you, you're such a sweet baby, shh, it's okay. That baby is instantly calm with that person because it picks up that they're calm. And so, and I don't know anybody in the world who doesn't pick up a baby and suddenly go, oh my god, he's so cute, and just instantly be in another mood. It's like puppies and kittens. You can't help but like, oh my god, except those weird people that don't like babies, which I don't get those people. But no prejudice. Not everybody. No, we cannot get a puppy, Kerrigan. You don't take care of the one you got. So I thought it would just be a simple thing as, can you be the puppy? Oh, good boy, Punk. Who's a good boy? No. I thought it would be a simple thing. As going to the doctor and them doing a reversal surgery and, healing and, all that. But in a year or two at the most, we'd be able to get pregnant again and have another baby. That wasn't the case because I was fat. I was overweight. I was morbidly obese, according to the doctors. I was 5'2" and 245 pounds. And also take into consideration I'd had 3 C-sections, every 2 years, within a 2-year time frame. And so they told me, oh, you're gonna have to you would have to lose weight. So putting you under general anesthesia and doing surgery puts you at risk already. And with you being overweight, you become more of a high risk. So we want to, because you have fatty liver tissue and, they have to work around so many things, and it just adds to the health risk of having a surgery like that. So they wanted me to lose weight. They wanted me to lose weight, and so I was like, I laughed in the doctor's face, and I was like, do you really think I want to be 245 pounds? Like, that it's just like, nah, this is good. I like being a big thick girl. Like, no, I have fought tooth and nail since I was like 11 years old not to be the fat kid. And it's just, it wasn't my lifestyle or anything like that. I ate good. I did PE in school. I was just the fat kid. And I was learning to love myself for that. And I was almost there before all of this shit happens, you know? The biggest problem I had was finding something cute to wear in my size. Okay? I had a few things linked to being overweight, like a bulging disc in my back and, you know, the normal being heavy set problems. I ripped a ligament in my leg once, found out I had a bulging disc in my back, had back problems, wasn't as mobile as I am now. Didn't look cute in all the clothes, you know, whatever. But the main thing was I wasn't considered healthy. And I wasn't considered, you know, in a healthy weight bracket. So they sent me to a nutritionist. They put me on a diet. They wanted me to count the calories and increase the exercise. And I did all of it. I did all of it to a T. Okay? When I tell you I started doing the protein shakes, I started doing the portion sizes, I started doing the what was it, beach body abs or something like that. I forget which one it was. I bought the workout videos at home. I made the stupid fucking sticker charts. I watched the fucking 30-minute videos and did the workouts every day. I fucking signed up to go to a gym. I bought the freaking fat girl sports bras and legging workout shit. I did it. I was dedicated. If this is what it took to get a baby, I was prepared to do it. I was going to show the doctors that I could do this. I would lose about 20 pounds. They'd say, good job, keep going. Got about 50 more to lose. And then all of a sudden, all the weight would come back. I'm doing all the same things. I would plateau, be stuck for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden I would start gaining weight. First, I thought it was muscle mass. You know, I'm weightlifting, I'm running, I'm doing the sit-ups, I'm doing the workouts, and I thought, well, maybe I'm burning the fat, but I'm building muscle. And so that's maybe what's happening, you know? And I was seeing a little more definition. You know, I was starting to see the lines. You know, I was shedding inches, even in pant sizes and clothing sizes. Even though I wasn't losing much weight, I was definitely losing the inches. I was getting excited. But then all of a sudden, it just stopped. I stopped losing weight. I plateaued. And then all of a sudden, all the weight started to come back. And I had another bout of depression. I actually went into the doctor for a routine checkup and lost my shit in the middle of the doctor's office. And I think I kind of freaked him out a little bit because it was just like I was just there for something totally unrelated. And I had a meltdown. And I was like, I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm doing every single thing right and I can't do this. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with my body that I can't lose weight and I can't keep it off? They made me keep a food diary of everything I put in my mouth. They made me count the calories, increase the water. They wanted me writing down exactly what I was doing, when I was doing it, for how long I was doing it, everything. And they couldn't understand it either. And I was just like, I'm never going to be able to lose this weight. I can lose 20 pounds and manage to keep it off, but I can't not for any length of time. It just, I was always stuck at that weight. And so the doctor was like, have you ever considered weight loss surgery? And at this point, they checked my thyroid. They checked for other things that could be attributing to weight gain issues, diabetes, and all these other things, and everything. I was like pretty much healthy as a horse, just freaking fat. And I didn't get it. I was like, how can I be this healthy, but you say I'm unhealthy just because I'm fat? No high cholesterol, no plaque buildup, no arthritis, no nothing, just fat. If I can pass all your other screening tests, why can't you just do the reversal surgery? And they just wouldn't do it. So my doctor finally said, have you ever considered weight loss surgery? And I was like, no, not really, because I didn't think I was fat enough. You see the shows like My 600 Pound Life, and I was like maybe 100 pounds overweight, and that was pushing it. That was if I was truly at my ideal weight, I'd be like, I think it's 125 pounds for my height. That would be the ideal weight would be 125 pounds. In which case I'd be like 130 pounds overweight, but even then I don't think I'd ever be at my ideal weight. I've been at my ideal weight once since my surgery, and I looked sick, like skeleton sick, and so my bone structure is just not possible. And so I was like, no, I've never considered it. And she said, well, you could be eligible for it. Why don't you consider it? I'll give you a referral. Go see the specialist, and God bless it. Stop it. Why are you doing that? I don't want to go anywhere. Why can't I just say what I want to say? Holy crap. A button. So off I go to the specialist, and they're like, yeah, your BMI is over 40, so technically you're eligible to get weight loss surgery. I was like, wow, really? Wow. And it's just because I'm short. They were basically like, yeah, because you're 5'2" and almost 250 pounds, you meet the criteria. So I go through the blood work. I had to do a psych test, and all that stuff. I actually failed the first blood test because I was anemic. So here's the kicker to the whole thing. Here's the irony of the whole thing. I've been anemic pretty much my whole life. Take some iron pills, eat more red meat, more leafy greens, I'm good. My body has learned how to, live with it, I guess. It's never been a problem for me. So they tell me I'm anemic, and I need to go see a hematologist and have a blood work done to figure out why I'm anemic. And so I'm like, I can already tell you why I'm anemic, because I have heavy periods. And they're like, okay, well, you need to stop having heavy periods. So I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I'm just a violation of nature. Okay, really? All of this just okay. So I go to the hematologist. They're like, you're just anemic. And if you say you're having the heavy periods, then that's what it's from. So you need to go see a gynecologist and see what they can do to help you with that. Okay, so I go off and I see the gynecologist, and the gynecologist says, well, there's a couple of things that we can do. You can take this pill while you're on your period, and it will diminish how heavy you bleed. And I was like, cool, sign me up. I'm all about it. And that's what I did. And I took these fucking horse pills for like I think it was like 3 or 4 times a day while I was on my period, and it significantly lightened my period. And guess what? My numbers went up, and I wasn't anemic anymore. So then I got approved for said surgery. Well, if you've never heard of the gastric bypass or don't know anything about it, basically you have your esophagus that comes down and meets at your stomach. You have your stomach, you have your duodenum, and then you have your intestines. Well, your duodenum is where your sugar is broken down. It helps go through it. It's also where all your B vitamins come from. It takes all the B stuff out of your food, helps you break down all the sugar, and helps absorb the stuff from your food. And then proceeds to go through to your intestines to be digested. Well, in gastric bypass, they bypass the duodenum and cut off that part of the stomach and then reattach it to the intestines so that 1, your stomach is smaller, 2, the food doesn't sit in your stomach as long before it moves to your intestines. But what nobody tells you until you figure it out years later is that because you just bypass that part, you're told beforehand that you'll have to take vitamins for the rest of your life, and you have to get a B12 supplement. So you either have to take a B12 supplement, or in my case, I have to get a shot once a month with a liquid B12 variant, because I'm no longer able to absorb B12 from my food. And I'm no longer, because the food doesn't sit in my stomach long enough, I'm not digesting or getting enough vitamins from my food anymore. So, I am now malnourished because I cannot get what I need from my food. Bonus, I'm skinny. No. No. What they don't tell you is the reason you lose weight is because you freaking starve to death for the first 6 months. Some people can go through the surgery just fine and are no worse for wear. They have the surgery, you go on a liquid diet, and you gradually get integrated up to solid foods again. But you're more than likely not going to get meat for like 6 months to a year. So I had complications. I got strictures, where it basically means my esophagus closed up to where the only thing that would pass through would be liquid. So every time I ate, it would get stuck before it would get to my stomach, and I would throw up. And it's excruciatingly painful. And you have to go in, and they put you to sleep. But they basically put a balloon down there and then inflate it to reopen your esophagus to get it to stop doing that. They also repaired a hiatal hernia, where basically my stomach was coming up into my esophagus, which explained all the acid reflux I was having. But long story short, in 6 months, I lost 100 pounds. 100 pounds. And mine was not the traditional. So normally you go 6 weeks on a liquid diet, and then they move you to what they call a slider diet. So those are things that you don't really have to chew. Mashed potatoes, yogurt, cottage cheese, stuff like that that's soft and easy to digest. And then at 12 weeks, you gradually work your way back up to solid foods. And they first introduce you to chicken and fish. And then you can work back up to like red meat and stuff. Well, I didn't have solid food for 5 months, I think it was. I couldn't eat solid food for 5 months. And if I tried, I would throw up. That's the one thing about the gastric bypass and the lap band and stuff that that's the idea. It's a tool. You're not supposed to be able to eat like you were before. The idea is it's forcing you to eat smaller portions and more frequently to retrain yourself how to eat only what you need. And it wasn't really until then that I realized it's a mental disorder. Like, eating is a mental disorder. Like, being fat. And it's not for everybody, but there are some people that, like me, I had said I was doing everything right. I was limiting my portions. I was counting my calories. I was doing all of these things. But then suddenly, I had this restriction put on me. And my stomach was like a fourth of what it was. And I was eating 4, maybe 5 bites on my plate. And then I was so full that I felt like if I swallowed the next bite, I would puke. And that if I put in my body more than what I needed, I would literally throw it up. And that was the tool that helped me to lose weight. But the side effect, the downside of that, was I was no longer getting the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals and stuff that I needed from my food to be healthy. I ended up needing iron infusions for the first year afterwards. I was going every 3 months for iron infusions because, yeah, I wasn't having heavy periods, but I also wasn't getting anything from the pills I was taking. Like, my body wasn't breaking down the pills because they weren't sitting in my stomach long enough. So now suddenly I was coming against another problem. The vitamins I was taking weren't in my stomach long enough to break down for my body to use. And I got really sick, and I couldn't work, and I couldn't have a real job, and I felt like my body was failing me. Like, what did I just do? And I became a burden to everybody around me because suddenly everybody's having to take care of me. Oh, I have hair in my eye. It's driving me nuts. And fast forward, and we are 8 years. It'll be 8 years in October. Out from the surgery. 7? Oh, 7 years.
2014 while I was in Afghanistan.
That's right, 2014. 7 years. It'll be 7 years in October that I've had the surgery. And if I could go back and not have the surgery, I would. And for anybody that asks about getting the surgery, I always tell them my story. Like, I will leave that choice up to you. If it was a choice I had to make over again, I wouldn't. Because guess what? My periods didn't lighten up. My problems didn't go away. I was just skinnier and now had a gambit of new problems to deal with. And they basically told me that while I was getting the iron infusions, I needed to figure out a way to stop the heavy bleeding, to stop the anemia, because it was going to take a toll on my other organs. So back to the gynecologist I go, and they tell me I have 2 options. Either I can get a partial hysterectomy, or I can do an ablation on my uterus, a uterine ablation, which basically means they take a balloon, blow it up so it's the size of your uterus, and they make it like white hot, and they burn the lining of your uterus so that when you have a period, there's nothing to shed, like there's no lining to shed. But that also means you can't ever get pregnant again. So I suddenly had to make a choice between my health and the ability to someday have another baby. So here I am, suffering for 2 years, losing 100 pounds, going through hell, only to be told that now I'm so unhealthy, I can't have a baby. I fucked my body up so much, I can't have another baby. And I need to do what I need to do to get myself healthy again. And I had to make that choice. And I had to say I can't risk my life to have another baby only to have that life cut short and leave Rev with 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever, you know. I can't risk getting pregnant, dying, you know, and leaving my existing children and husband alone. And so I made the decision to have the ablation. And again, I had a big depression. I had to tell myself that I have 2 beautiful children and 1 in heaven, and that has to be enough. And I have to take care of me now so that I can take care of them. So that's what I did. And we are 7 years, and I'm still not healthy. The last 2 years, I have been hospitalized 6 times. I have had, actually 7 times, I have had 6 blood transfusions. 2 years ago, I was actually at work. I had a job. I had the most amazing job. I was running a coffee shop in Louisiana. I was a manager there. I was booking catering gigs. I was the event coordinator. I was the host and in charge of doing murder mystery dinners. I would dress up in costume and we would do murder mystery dinners. And think of like Clue with food. Only the guests that are there are the characters. And I was just the host that would help keep it going. And then the woman I worked with, her side of it was to do all the food and serve all the food. And it was an amazing job. And I started puking up blood one day in the middle of my shift. I wasn't feeling well, and I ran to the bathroom. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just started puking bright red blood. And I was like, oh, that's probably not a good sign. And so I called Rev, and I said, I'm puking blood. I need to go to the emergency room, but the kids are about to be out of school. I'm down the street from the hospital. Can you go get the kids and then meet me there? And I drove myself to the hospital. This was the first one was a doozy. I won't say it was the worst, but it was the eye opener that something was really wrong. I went in. I was by myself. They got me back. My blood pressure was really low. It was like 80/60. And they immediately hooked me up to an IV. I started getting fluids going. And I had called Alan, and I was sheet white pale. My gums were white. My nails were white. I didn't even notice it. I've been working 12-hour shifts and running my ass off, and I didn't notice it. And the doctor lectured me, and, you know, but I had just texted Rev, and I said, stay in the waiting room. I don't want the kids to see me like this. I don't want to scare them. And he's like, are you sure? I really want to be back there with you. And I said, I know, and I want you here with me too, but I don't want to scare the kids. The doctor's, I'm not doing so great. And he said, okay, well, I had to go to the bathroom. I paged for the nurse. Nobody came. I'm hooked up to an IV pole. The bathroom was right across from my room. I decided the nurse's station is right there. The bathroom is right there. I just grab the pole and go to the bathroom and go back to bed. I should be fine. Right? Should be fine. It's just right there. Right? No problem. I go in the bathroom. I do my business. I go to stand up. And suddenly my world starts to go black. immediately sat back down, grabbed onto my IV pole, and went, whew, okay, this is no good. You know that little string that's in the bathroom that you're supposed to pull if you need help from a nurse? Yeah, I didn't pull it. My dumbass was like, I got the IV pole. The bed's right there. I can make it. I just gotta get back to my bed. Then I'll lay down and I'll close my eyes and the spinning will stop and the spinning will go away. I got this. I can do this. I'm like pep talking myself. I got this. I can do this. Never passed out before in my life. I got this. I'm listening, you know? Grab that IV pole. It took me about 3 or 4 tries just trying to stand up without passing out that I finally get to a standing position, stay there for a minute, and try to regain my composure, my balance. I'm leaning heavily on my IV pole, and I walk out, and then I realize, oh shit, I'm gonna pass out. I turn, I look towards the nurse's station, and this is where everything started to become incoherent. I didn't hear anything. I just turned, I saw the nurse, I heard her say in that muffled voice they do in the movies, "Are you okay?" I managed to shake my head before I fell to the ground. And she caught me before I hit the ground. And I passed out. I blacked out. Rev hadn't gotten there yet, but I blacked out. It was maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, until my hearing came back. And then all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by people. I've got them doing another IV in my other arm. I hear them reading out my blood pressure, which is 40/20. I can hear them, but I can't move. I can't see. I can't do anything. They're calling for a crash cart. They're slapping paddles, whatever those little sensors are, all over my chest. And I can't move. I can't move my hands. I can't speak. Nothing. And I'm trying to be like, it's okay. I'm okay. I can hear you. You know, I couldn't even open my eyes. And so I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm gonna die. This is how it ends. I'm gonna fucking die. And, you know, they got me stable. They were like full flushing, putting fluids into me and everything. And the doctor comes in and he's like, do you know how sick you are? And I just kind of looked at the doctor and I was like, oh. And he picks up my hand. He said, look at your hand. Look at your fingernails. And he had a handheld mirror in his hand. He said, look at your gums. Look at your eyelids. Do you see how pale you are? How white you are? How have you not noticed this? How are you walking? Like, you are so lucky you aren't dead right now. That's how sick you are. And I was like, okay. Like, I didn't really know what to say to that. I was just like, I'm one of those people that wait till it's too late to go to the doctor, and, you know. So he comes in and he's like, we're admitting you to the hospital. Your hemoglobin is at a 6 right now. A normal human being has 13 or higher. Yours is at a 6. Meaning you have less than half the amount of blood in your body a normal human being does. You're puking blood. You have blood in your stools. We're admitting you, and we're gonna do X, Y, and Z tests, and we're gonna figure out what's wrong. And not 5 minutes after all of that happened, you know, Rev got to the hospital, and he was kind of briefed about what was happening, but he didn't see me pass out or any of that, thank God. I don't know how he would have handled all of that. But long story short, I've been admitted 6 times since then. I've had internal bleeding. I've been puking blood. I've had a 5.5 hemoglobin. I've had up to, I think the biggest one I did was 4 units of blood that they've given me at one time. Last year I was in for like 10 days. They let me out like 2 days before Christmas, because I begged them to let me go home. I've had every test, upper scope, lower scopes, GIs, blood panels, all of this, and they don't know where the blood is going, or why, or what's causing it. So I'm 2 years later, and I'm finally getting, due to COVID, all the specialists I needed to see were shut down. They weren't taking new patients. They weren't doing office visits. So I was not able to go to see a blood specialist, which is also an oncologist, for them to do the cancers, blood cancer tests, and all of that stuff. So I now have those referrals, and I'm patiently waiting to get those completed so that I can get to see those two doctors to do further testing, possibly bone marrow testing, to see if there's something wrong with the way my body makes blood. I don't know. So that is the health depression side of things. Add to that having anxiety. Add to that losing 2 jobs. I had one job, I had it for like 2 weeks, and that's when I ended up in the hospital for 10 days. They were super understanding. They were so great. They even said, when you get better, your job will be waiting for you. But it was kind of one of those 3 months later, I was like, you should probably hire somebody else, because I can't say if I'll be well enough to come back to work. And that was me telling the truth, because it's like, I'll be perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden I go through this decline. And so far it's been every 6 months. Well, October will be my 6-month mark. Now, I went to the emergency room just a couple of weeks ago because I was starting to have really bad dizzy spells and breathing issue. I felt like I couldn't breathe, which is kind of the starting signs of my blood issues happening. I start to have really bad dizzy spells, and I get really, really tired where I cannot stay awake more than a few hours a day. So I was thinking, God, here we go again. And I went in and was surprised. I just had a stomach bug, and my levels are still good. My hemoglobin was at an 11. So I hope that it stays that way and that I can keep those numbers up. I have cut back on my caffeine intake. I'm not drinking as much coffee. I've been drinking those juice monsters, which have a lot of B vitamins and stuff, and I've tripled my vitamin intake. I do gummy vitamins now because they don't go through your stomach. They almost instantly absorb into you. Still anemic. But getting back to the TED Talk, living with depression and anxiety, every day I have to say, am I going to stream today? Do I really want to stream today? At the beginning it was really just for fun. Rev and Kerrigan would do it, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, nobody's going to watch me play video games. But okay, I'll jump on the bandwagon. And, so I started a year or 2 ago doing it, and then all of a sudden my computer could no longer stream and play the game at the same time. So I had to not stream and just play the game. I actually just got my computer fixed enough to be able to do that back in June. And joke's on me, was never the graphics card, and it was never the RAM, it was the processor the whole time. So yeah, $1,000 later, we finally figured out the problem. But on the upside, I practically have a brand new computer that I can now stream and play all my games with, and they're not in potato mode. So that is always a good thing. But I'm not really a people person. When I was working at that, the coffee shop that I was working on, it so pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm not a good public speaker. I'm not one of those people that I could go up in front of people and do those motivational speaking, and my anxiety, I would die. I feel the stress of it. I can't do it. So when my boss saw me doing just little things, she was like, you're capable of this. You could do this. Like, you have so much potential. And I think with a little nudge, you know, you could be doing so much more. And so it was kind of like she offered me a part-time position, helping fill in when somebody will call out sick. And then she watched me. And she's like, you know, this is taking off a little way too fast for me, and I am forgetting appointments and forgetting this and that. I could really use some help getting my shit together. How are you at organizing stuff? And I was like, ooh, I'm really good at that for other people. Not for myself, but for other people. I could go in and like totally revamp and put those little sticker labels on everything and make a binder for everything, and you know, all for other people. Can't do it for myself because I can't stick to it for shit, but I could set it up for other people. And she's like, I really need an assistant that can answer the phones for me and help me book these parties and meet with people so that I can do the other stuff like cooking in the kitchen and stuff. And I was like, I mean, I don't mind helping you keep your calendar and stuff, but like talking to people on the phone, I'm not so great at that. Oh, meeting people and trying to sell something? Not so great at that either. Please don't make me do that. And she was like, no, like, they want to book the party. I just need you to write everything down on the paper. You know, I'm not asking you to sell anything. I'm just asking you to kind of close the deal for me. I mean, I'll do all the legwork if you'll just put it on paper for me. And I was like, oh, I could totally do that. Stand behind you and write down everything y'all talk about? Got you. I can do that. You know? And so she did, and she totally worked me up to it. She totally nudged me into that position, and after probably like 4 or 5 sit downs where I would pipe in and ask little questions here and there, she like took a step back and she's like, I thought you said you couldn't do this. I thought you said you couldn't talk to people. I thought you said you weren't good at this. Because from where I'm sitting, you're doing a pretty good damn job. Like, I don't need to be here. You got this. And then one day she had booked a party for the owner of the building's granddaughter. And then totally let me take over and be in charge of it. But didn't tell me she was going to be leaving me in charge of it. She's like, well, I'm going to go run some errands. You got this. Drink up. Got it. And I freaked out during the party. And I was like, where the fuck are you? Why aren't you here helping me? Oh my god. I was getting so mad, but I was freaking out at the same time. I was like about to have an anxiety attack because this was the owner's daughter or granddaughter. And suddenly I'm having to like help make the food and bring it out and make sure that this party doesn't get fucked up because that's a landlord. And so anxiety full swing, but I can't lose my shit because it's the owner's granddaughter. So I gotta hold my shit together and panic on the inside. And I did. And I kept it together. And I totally had a meltdown afterwards. And I totally screamed at my boss. And all she did was look at me and say, do you feel better now that you got that off your chest? You got it all out? But you did it, didn't you? You rocked it, didn't you? And I was like, she like totally took all the wind out of my sails, and I was like, yeah, I did do that. Yeah, I didn't screw it up. I did good. And she was like, and I knew you would. Do you honestly think I would have left you in charge of my landlord's granddaughter's birthday party if I didn't think you could do it? If I had any doubt in you whatsoever? And I was like, whoa, that's big. That's deep. Wow. Okay. And I just kind of was like, wear the Ravenclaw robe. Okay. I got it here. But that's one of those things when you're in the moment and you're doing something. Well, for me, it's always freak out internally and try not to let anybody know on the outside. Let's see, probably about 20 to 30 more minutes, Punk. I'm gonna wrap up my little story here, and then I'll probably jump into some games. So for me, working at that job was a lot of, I'm gonna go have a panic attack in the bathroom, and then I'm going to splash some water on my face and get my shit together and pretend that I've always had my shit together. Okay, I'll just leave it on. It's no big deal. It's a little chilly down here anyway. Oh, I see what you mean. When I start the game. Okay, gotcha. Didn't make sense, but now it does. And so then she wanted to do something that was different from everybody else. So first of all, this is like a little retro coffee shop that's not like any coffee shop you'd ever been to. Instead of like tables and chairs, it was couches and love seats and 1960s and 70s decor in there, and it was totally chill, totally relaxed. There was little private booths that you can go in and shut curtains if you wanted to study or whatever. And she wanted to start something that was a different concept, and she wanted to do like interactive dinners. Like there was another one in the area, but it was like the crew was the characters, and then the audience was just the guests. She wanted it to be interactive, so we sort of developed this murder mystery idea that we would announce it. We would pre-sell tickets for it. We would tell people, as they bought their tickets, they were assigned a character, and it was in order with the character list. And so then we would give them a general description of their character and a suggested attire. And we tell people, you didn't have to dress up, but I promise you'll have more fun if you do. And then we would put the menu on there. And so it was anywhere from a 4 to 6 course meal. And the tickets were usually like $25 to $45, depending on the type of food we were going to be serving. And then there was always a theme. So the very first one we did was a like a gangster themed one with mafia based one. And I actually, as the host, I dressed up in like tight leather pants with a white button down shirt, red suspenders, and a fedora hat. And I pulled my hair back, and I had heels on, and so it was like my first ever one, and I'll remember it and I'll never forget it. It was like 40 people, I think it was. So it was fairly large. So my job was to make sure that everybody got assigned a character, and then as they came in, they get their name tag and they get their first little information sheet. I wait till everybody gets there. We sort of mingle a little bit. There might be some cocktails depending on, like I said, the theme or the age group. We did kids ones too. And I would do an introductory speech, and I would be like, I would make up a character. I would be something to fit in with whatever it was. Well, we actually had that one. We actually had a main storyline character not show up, and her name was Ali Capone. And so it just so happened that I was in my, gangsta pinstripe, and I opted to take part in that. So I introduced myself as Ali Capone, and I tell people when they come in, I was like, okay, your bathroom is over here, this is over there, if you need anybody, this is my assistant, they'll be helping keep drinks, we'll be serving blah 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 blah. I was like, if for anybody who's never done it before, there are 3 rounds. So the first round is going to be an introductory round. We're going to mingle. We're going to talk shit about each other. We're going to gossip. And once I feel like everybody's had a chance to talk to everybody, we will take our seats. I will pass out the round 2 clue cards, at which point we will start with appetizers, salad, soups, whatever it is that's on the menu. I would go around, I would give them their second clue card, and I would tell them, okay, round 2 is 2 parts. First round, we're going to do the same, pretty much the same of what we just did. The top part of your clue card is going to have your gossips. You're going to go around, you're going to talk shit about people, and you're going to drop the little clues and the hints and listen to what else is being said on the first part. Please read ahead on the second one, because on the second round, we will find out who is the victim. I don't know who it is, and you guys don't know who it is. I do not read ahead when I'm doing all these things. I'm doing them upside down, so I can't read it. So I can play along and be just as involved, and I don't give it away because I have no poker face. And that's exactly how I say it to people. And so I'm like, during the first part of it, after I feel like everybody's talked to everybody, we've gossiped, we've said our shit talking, I will, at one point during that, the person who is the victim, you need to come find me. We will go off, I will explain the next part of this, and then we will move on to the second phase of round 2. Where the murder has taken place, and one of you gets to be the victim. And so then 9 times out of 10, they don't read ahead. You don't know who the victim is, and I don't either. So, spoiler alert, I then have to go around and talk to people. I have to like read over their shoulder onto the bottom part and find out who the freaking victim is. And so, and I have to be this bubbly, upbeat, in character, which is totally, I don't want to say I'm not upbeat and bubbly and everything, but I'm not like one of those people that is super friendly and like, hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you today? I'm not tour guide Barbie. I'm just kind of like, oh, hi, can I go home now, please? I came, I conquered, I shook hands, can I go now? Type of person. I'm shy. I don't know. I'm not a people person, but this job, I had to be a people person. And so we would go around and I would find out who the victim was. And I would be like, okay, you're the victim. Sorry. Come with me. So I would take them into the back bathroom and I would have either a ghost poncho or a button-up shirt that said victim on the back, spray painted in blood, fake blood. And I would have the murder weapon prop and the next clue card, their little clue card that they would have to read aloud. And then this was the fun part for me, because it was like, these people don't know me from Adam. I'm like likely never to see them again. And my job is to make sure that they have a good time and enjoy their experience and then tell their friends so that more people will come back and we make a lot of money doing it. And I get better and better at it. And so the second round comes and I'm like, okay, do you like getting people's attention? Are you a good drama queen or king? Or do you need me to do this for you? I say, okay, this is the speech that you have to say. But here's the trick. No, because I was the one that was doing it. She didn't have anybody else to do it. She tried with one other person and it totally flopped. Because they weren't me. And, so I tell him, I say, are you dramatic or do you need me to do it for you? And I say, here's your lines. This is what you need to be able to read off to everybody, but here's the trick. Everybody's out there, they're arguing and they're shit talking and they're gossiping. And you need to go out there and get their attention. Imagine you're at a party and all of a sudden you stumble over a dead body. Like, somebody's going to scream. Somebody's going to be like, oh my God! So you need to do something to get everybody's attention so they all shut up and look at you so that you can read those lines. Do you think you can do that? Or do you need me to do it? And some of them will be like, oh, dude, I totally got that. I so know what I'm going to do. And then you have some people that are like, no, can you do that for me? I'm like, all right, I got you. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to linger. Give me like 2 minutes so I can like be by everybody and it doesn't look like overly obvious. And then you come out and then I'll like let out a blood curdling scream or something and get everybody's attention for you. And then you can read the lines. And so 9 times out of 10, they wanted me to be the dramatic one. And so it was always hilarious because I would just nonchalantly kind of wander back out. I'd get a few people that would look over at me and kind of like wonder what was going on. And then they would go back to what they were doing. And I'd just kind of walk around and pretend like nothing had happened, And then I'd see them come out of the corner of their eye. And then I'd be like, oh my God, would make this huge, overly dramatic scene, and some people, sometimes they would laugh because it was so over the top, and some people, you know, really enjoyed it and got into it, and then they would say their speech or whatever. And then I've had some people come out, and they would, you know, I had one guy that, I swear to God, I can't make this stuff up. It was a guy that was the victim that time, and he come out and he was like, oh dear me, oh me, I have been murdered, look at me, I'm dead, you know? And it was hilarious, and I couldn't stop laughing, but he got everybody's attention, and everybody had a good time. And so after they say their speech, then I redirect everybody, and I say, okay, everybody, now we're going to move on to part 2 of your note card. Enclosed in your little envelopes that you were given is your clue scorecard. You know, you have pens on the table. Now I want you to go around and shit talk with the second part of it and gather your clues and your evidence. And so the second part was always like, well, so-and-so left the room 5 seconds before the body was discovered, or so-and-so was near the punch bowl, you know, if it was like poison or something like that. And so then, you know, they would go back and forth of oh, well, so-and-so left the room, and oh, well, so-and-so was in this room and that room, and, you know, and so people would be writing down their clues and everything, trying to figure it out, who might have killed that person. Now, the person may or may not know who it is either, and the murderer is one of the guests, and they don't know it either until the next round. And so by this time, I've got food coming out, main course is coming out, so people are sitting down, they're eating, and they're shit talking, and they're gossiping, and they're, you know, they're still carrying on with the game. Once everybody's done eating, and I feel like everybody's kind of gotten there, and we get to desserts, I kind of go around the room and I ask people, who do you think did it? I don't know. Unless I'm doing a repeat of what I've already done, I don't know who it is either. So I always like to, well, why do you think it was so-and-so? And it's an interactive way to get people to keep it going. So then the third round comes, and I pass out the third round of the clue cards, which isn't really a clue card, it's more like a confessional. So there's usually main characters, and then there's the optional characters. The main characters usually have something to say, and they'll say, well, I was in the bathroom with so-and-so when it happened, so it couldn't have been me. As much as I hated that person's guts and really didn't want to kill them, it wasn't me. And then somewhere in there, somebody confesses and says, well, that bitch owed me money, and I'm not sorry, and yeah, I fucking killed him. And how they deliver that is up to them. But some people really get into it, and then some people just read it verbatim, monotone off the card. And so then we go in there, and then we have a little chit-chatting and a calm down, and then I do my little exit speech, and I say, oh, everybody had a good time, and, you know, on your way out, one more thing. We had this big chalkboard, and I would write, we solved the mystery at blah, 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 and I would get everybody crowded around for a picture, and we would do a picture. And so I did quite a few of those. Let me see. If you are in my Discord... Actually, hold on. I might be able to change the screen. What am I on? Game capture? I might be able to switch it real quick. Hold on. Let me pull it up. So, this is the Ravenclaw robe that I'm wearing right now. This was when I did a Harry Potter themed one, which totally sold out in 2 days. It sold out so fast, we actually had to open up a second one to do for the kids. This was a Halloween themed one where I played one of the characters that it was obsessed with dolls. It was a haunted hotel, and she was like a goth chick, and so I got like a Halloween costume and put on really dark makeup and outfit and stuff, and I was the host for that one. Here is one of the final pictures. So we solved the murder mystery and see people dressed up in character. This was one of the adult Harry Potter version ones. And I did all the decorating too. I decorated the rooms. I set the tables. I had help with it, but I set the mood. And so I hung the banisters. I did the twinkly lights and stuff. Oh, here's kind of an idea of what it was, only I have my apron on and you don't see the hat. But this was the Ali Capone look on there. I love those shoes. Here's with the hat and tie. So I had my hair tucked back when I had my long hair. And this was another one I had set. We got the candelabras and stuff. This was another one. This was a private party. I think this was a Sweet 16 that we did that was Harry Potter style. Which teenagers, man, they solved it really fast. They figured it out really fast. So this was a private party too. This was like the woman in the middle over top of the chalkboard with the witch hat on. It was like her 60th birthday or something like that. And this was like all her friends and family that got together and threw this surprise party for her. Sorting Hat. I got it. So, true story about actually how I came to own the Sorting Hat. So, when we did the Harry Potter murder mystery dinner, let me show you a broad picture here. Hold on. When we did the Harry Potter murder mystery, so you see there's 4 tables there to go with each one. So, we did an adult-themed one, and we got so much feedback on it that they were like, we need a kid-friendly one. And so I started thinking, okay, let's do a kid-friendly one. So we did a kid-friendly one that was much of the same, only I knew that kids have, like, 0 attention spans. So I had to think and plan of how would I keep this going. Adults, I could do some trivia, bring out the food, have some good banter and all that good stuff, and I could keep it going fairly easily. But kids, I was going to need a few more activities to keep things going and keep the kids occupied and entertained. So here's during one of the dinners, you see people are dressed up in their costumes. I think this one had 60 people. I think that's the most we ever did was 60 or 70. Maybe it was 70. This was the 1920s one. This was the very first one I ever did. So that's me there in the front. So it was 1920s. So they had the Flapper Girl costumes, and then the guys were like the gangster costumes. The girl here with the ghost thing, she was the victim, and the one holding the little axe thingy above it was the murderer. And so that was that. Then I have the Mardi Gras themed one. This was my costume for the Mardi Gras theme. I had the tight leather pants, and I went and ordered a jacket off of Amazon and then modified it a little bit and got the top hat so I could be like the guy from, what was it, I forget, the voodoo dude from Princess and the Frog. That's what I was going for. So yeah, I have all different kinds of stuff that I did at this place. What could boring old me have a chat about, Mental? All kinds of things. So I had a lot of fun doing that. And again, that really pushed me out of my comfort zone and taught me a lot. And so I had, this was a 1950s one. I dressed up in a 1950s like Stepford costume to be the housewife is the what I was going for with the apron and all. And so I have like a gazillion more pictures, but I won't bore you guys with that. That reminds me of the Leprechaun horror movie with that jacket. Oh, I don't watch horror movies, so I don't know. I don't like horror movies. God bless it. Me and this hat right now are gonna have words. Here we go. It was floppy. So that job like pushed me out of my comfort zone and really helped me. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Sorry, punk. And so I was like on the road to mending, and then all the health shit happens, and then I was stuck at home. And I started my own business. I started doing candles and jewelry and all that kind of stuff. I just get the leprechaun. Yeah. And So I started making my own jewelry and candles and thought, well, maybe I can make a passive income that way. Maybe I can fill the void with something else. And I got discouraged pretty easily. I have currently probably over 3,000 necklaces, 600 pairs of earrings. I had at one point like 50 different candles, and I just gave all the candles away because they were just sitting on the shelf doing nothing. I still have over 3,000 necklaces and enough stuff to make probably 6,000 more. I can do custom stuff. I also did, pretty much anything. I can pretty much sew anything. And so at this point, I was just sewing things and making things to pass the time. But most of the time, I was just giving it away because I couldn't sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it. And so it was like Squadron Function would come up, or they were looking for a gift basket for somebody, putting together a new baby bundle, or welcome to the unit, or whatever. And I was like, here's 50 necklaces, donate those. Here's 10 of this, the Squadron Christmas party. Oh, here, I'll donate a basket full of like $300 worth of shit, just get it out, whatever, and then the whole mask mandate happened, and people were scrambling to get masks, and here I am with a fabric hoard that I don't do anything with, and I was like, oh, I can make masks. Those would be really easy. I can assembly line those. I could whip 100 out in a day, and then people were like, oh my God, throwing money at me left and right, and I wasn't even asking for money. I was like, shit, I've got 8 years worth of fabric. You can ask Rev. He's like, don't buy any more fabric. Our house, stop calling our house your storage box. And so I stopped buying fabric, but I had all these boxes. And your face was too big. I know, Mental, I'm so sad. Well, those were panels that were pre-printed. I didn't really get to customize or make. I couldn't really, I could only work with that printed box size. So I couldn't make it any bigger because my ones that I make are usually much bigger than those. So, and are you able to do as a lightweight in the K95? So I was doing masks for everybody on base. I was doing kid masks, and I was doing masks for the hospitals and stuff. So basically what I would do is I would sit down and cut a bunch out, and then I would set them out on my front porch. I would say I have 20 masks going out on my porch this morning. Anybody who wants one can come grab one. I didn't want to make it awkward, and plus the whole, contact thing. And then people are like, oh, what's your Venmo? What's your PayPal? And I want to compensate you for your time. And I was like, I'm not charging people. But if you want to donate money, this is my PayPal, or you can just leave cash in my mailbox. But there's absolutely no pressure whatsoever. Then I had my friends out of state saying, there's no fabric in the fabric stores here. Everything's on lockdown. So in Montana, we didn't go on lockdown for almost a month after everyone else did. And so all of our stuff was still open when everybody else was shutting down. And like I said, I have like 8 years worth of hoarded fabric here that half of it I didn't even know what I was going to do with. I just, ooh, shiny, that looks cool, I need to buy it type thing. I had nurses in New York who were pretty hard hit, saying, they weren't getting access to the masks. They were going through those N95 masks, and, could I make them the tie ones? I was making them with ties and with elastic, and elastic was suddenly on a shortage, and I actually got my hands on some, but I was actually using tie material, and they're like, we would love to have some tie ones to put over our hard plastic ones or over the cloth ones. And then I also had one particular nurse ask if I could make the headbands with the buttons so that they could strap the elastic to the buttons. And she's like, I have exhausted all resources of the local seamstresses, but all of the seamstresses here are out of fabric. There's no place here that has any fabric. And then slowly it started to trickle to Montana, and then everything started to shut down. And all of the fabric, I was going out and buying like black and white and solid colored flat bed sheets and using bed sheets to make masks just because everybody was in such a panic and needed them. And so I had Panda Express do an order. They wanted like 30 solid black masks, and they paid me for them. And then I had other seamstresses that were willing to pay me for fabric. And so it was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm doing something worthwhile. I'm doing something important, you know. I didn't really advertise about it or anything. I just said, you know, to anybody that needs a masks, you're willing to pay the shipping, just hit me up and let me know how many you need, what sizes. Give me $5 for shipping, and I'll send you as many as you need. And I made like $800 in the first week of people just throwing money at me, and just all in all, I made over 1,000 masks, and I was really proud of myself for that. And it was like, okay, I feel good. I'm doing something worthy of my time. I'm not sitting here wasting my life away. Yeah, those plastic ear hoops, I was so freaking thinking about buying one then, but then everyone and their mom was ordering and doing that stuff, and even the plastic for those was in high demand. So I was part of the fabric groups, and everybody was desperate to get fabric, and our Joann fabric here hadn't closed down. They were just limiting the amount of people, and you could still do curbside pickup. And so I would go in the fabric group, post, hey, I'm in Joann's, who needs what? And I would do as many of them as I could. I think I did like the first 10 or 20, and I would go through and I would pull stuff off the shelves and I would have it cut. They would PayPal me right there while I was in the store, and then I would go right from there to the post office and ship the fabric to them, just so that they could keep making masks, because most of these people were like in New York and Florida and the really hard hit areas. So the whole time we're on shifts. Yeah. So we're not required to here, but we still do anyway. Both my kids have